Hi there, and welcome to today's conversation where we talk creativity, we talk music, we talk languages with a wonderful human being that I've had the pleasure of knowing for quite a while on LinkedIn, being in couple virtual Zoom rooms with her and kind of getting sucked into her wonderful energy. So today we talk with Arnaly Arriaga, who is born in Venezuela, living in Canada, traveled around the world. But what is so fascinating about Arnaly is her passion for music, her understanding of music, how she uses it in so many aspects of her life, how she uses it to teach Spanish, how she brings it into her voiceover work, how music impacts how she writes and creates. So this is such a genuine, kind of light-hearted conversation that is just so full of wonderful energy that Arnold brings. So I can't wait for you to pull up a chair, grab a cuppa, or take us on a walk with you and tune in.
But before we get into this really creative musical conversation, here it is. Hit that subscribe button because we are wanting to get to the reach. We are having the views, but we're not getting the subscribes. And the subscribes does help us to reach further. We have such beautiful guests with some amazing advice, some amazing stories to share. So let's get that reach out. So if you've liked this video, hit subscribe, hit that like button, and also feel free to put a comment down because that also helps us and gives us feedback. But now, let us get on with this really amazing, creative, musical conversation.
Hi, Arnalie. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm so excited to finally be able to do it, to make it.
I
And
know. I'm so excited for this conversation. And this is one of those where I really don't know where it's going to lead us, what are the topics we're going to be talking about, but I know it will be wonderful and exciting and insightful. So, to allow us and our listeners to get a bit of a sense of what the hell is going to happen, could you tell us a little bit more about you, yourself, your journey? Who is Arnalee? What does she do? And what does give you the fire in the morning to just, grab the day by it just and go?
it's funny you asked me that because I've been this morning precisely I was realizing that I've been going through a reinvention process since last year, and it's been a whole year of this whole process, and it has been huge, like upside down. I turned my life completely upside down. I Last year when I came to this point, I was teaching Spanish language online. I have an academy, I still have it's called Lengualista, and I teach online. I teach kids and I teach adults. But I have been, since I was a little girl, I have been a musician, a composer, and I've always been into creative arts. And I have been applying that to my Spanish language teaching. So I do have a YouTube channel for my academy that where you can find songs that you can use to learn Spanish. Why? Because it's really easy to learn songs. You listen to them on the radio and they stick to your head. So if you learn, what I tell my students is, if you learn the song, you learn the language. And that's what I was doing. I was teaching, I was employing all my creativity towards the teaching. But then I realized that there was something missing in my life. And I started looking for what it was. And I kind of found it, or it found me. I started playing, I was invited to play at a church every Saturday. Not every Saturday, once per month at the Spanish Mass. And then I started to play at the English Mass too. And that kind of rekindled my my, my will, my all this passion for music that I had left in the past. And ever since I started doing that, the opportunities for me to play, started to arrive. And now I have a band, actually two bands. I have a Latin music band, and we're playing in festivals, we're playing in bars and venues. We're quite busy. I'm still teaching, but now I'm so excited about it. And I've also joined last year while I was going through this process, because I've been a voiceover for at least 20 something years. And I've been remotely a voiceover. And I was never a city person that I go to the studios. I always had my studio. And it was okay, but AI arrives and a lot of my voiceovers just go out the window. Why? Because I used to do a lot of e-learning. E-learning is, for the people that don't know, e-learning is when you, for example, get hired and they put you in front of a computer. I'm the voice that you hear training you. I also do a lot of medical, and a big, big, big chunk of that market was immediately taken by AI. Why? Because if I used to charge, say, $600, now AI charges 50. So that was part of the process too. It's like, oh, okay, what am I gonna do now? And I joined after that started happening. I still do voiceovers. I'm still working on my voiceover business, but I had to focus it entirely to a completely entirely different place. So that's when I joined Toastmasters. I don't know if you know what Toastmasters is. This is a club, an organization, and you have clubs all over the world, and you practice public speaking, and you develop your public speaking, your improvisation skills, and so many things related to that. And since I started, I went into speech contests and I won two of them. and then last year, I was named the most improved Toastmaster of the year in my club and the humorous speech in my club. So I've been discovering things that I never thought that I could or would do. Not so much the music, but the public speaking part. It's like, wow, I can do this. And I've always thought I was really bad at humor, and it had been my frustration. And it's funny because I have a friend who's a little bit of a mentor too. And one time I was asking him, he's a writer, and I was asking him, what should I do? Because I don't think I'm funny enough. And he said, listen, without any script, you're already a clown. So you don't need, just be you. You don't need to try to be funny. You don't have to. You're already super funny. You make me laugh. So that's what you need to do. And I don't think I'm that funny, but he thinks so. Ever since I started, and it seems I am. So,
Wow, I love the way you've had these transitions almost thrown at you. Like you said, with the AI coming in and losing a lot of the voiceovers, and that is a pity because I love listening or watching videos where there's actually a human speaking.
thank you.
And I've started to notice the ones that have AI, and they're actually quite off-putting. That's
Yeah,
me speaking. So
thank you.
it's lovely to come across a human who does the voiceovers. So thank you for sharing that, because I don't think a lot of people realize that with the onset of AI, there are people like yourself who essentially lose work because well, humans are not as cheap as AI,
Exactly.
and
It
AI
takes
is
us
easy
time.
and anybody can do it.
Mhm.
But it's not the same. It doesn't have that nuance. It doesn't have the tones. Sometimes I don't even pronounce the words right.
Thank you. I'm
So
glad you said all that because that's exactly how it is. And it's funny because the platform where I teach, it's an awesome platform and it's all live teachers like me, and they started doing some training with AI. So they're doing training to us, the teachers, in with AI. And I just wrote, I remember I haven't checked again if they switched it or not, but I wrote them and said, like, what are you doing? Like, what do you think you're doing? Like, we are live teachers. You cannot try and train us. Like, put some, like, write it, but don't have a robot reading for us. That's terrible. It's boring to start with. It's not personal, and and it's an insult to us. That's the way I see it. And I don't know how. I know the general public doesn't yet recognize it, but I'm starting to hear people saying like, no, I hate those robotic voices. It's like, you know, they have really strange movements when they when you have like the AI head. I mean, they're getting really good, but it's not the same. It can never be the same.
doesn't have the nuances there and
Hmm.
the tones. So it's lovely to actually meet a real voice face to face. I know that sounds really weird, but thank you for that. And Toastmasters. I am a Toastmaster. I used to be Toastmasters. I did it for years, and I'm actually a DTM, which is a distinguished Toastmaster, which I'm
Wow!
very proud of
Congratulations!
achieving. So well done for doing Toastmasters, and well done for winning contests.
I know. I
That's
got my
an amazing
prizes.
feat.
I got my. I haven't posted them on the wall. I have to renew. I have to redo my studio. But there's the most improved Toastmasters.
Oh, oh, look at that. Well
I
done.
have,
So it's Toastmasters is a really, it's a wonderful organization that, as you said, it's global. It can help with confidence. It can help with speaking. It can help with so many different elements, not just public speaking, but
yeah,
just finding different ways of doing something, or as
yeah,
I said, confidence, resilience, and it can also help with presentations, with taking meetings, whatever it is. There's so many different ways that you can help. It can help, and it's a great way to meet other people
yeah.
globally, because the minute you mention Toastmasters, so many people do know of it. So, and it's quite weird because you said that you teach Spanish, you sing in it, you play in a band, you do music with your language, and then it's like, but why would you need Toastmasters? But I get it. I get why, because it's wanting to learn to we speak, and like you said, maybe bringing in the humorous speaking, because that is something that Toastmasters does, is helps you to create humorous speeches and all that. So it's wonderful that we have a guest who knows what Toastmasters is.
That's awesome. That's fantastic that you're in Toastmasters too. It's excellent. I've been asked that question several times. Like, why are you doing Toastmasters? I mean, you're already a teacher. So if you're a teacher, you know how to speak. And depends. It depends because when you are going to speak to a large number of people, or even if you're just going to speak to a small number of people, you need to know what you're going to say. You need to structure what you're going to say. You need to be able to start at the beginning and not get lost. One of the things that I find most difficult in Toastmaster is keeping in time. That one of the reasons I didn't win the area contest was because I went over 2 seconds.
Now strict with time. They're strict with
They're
time.
super strict with time, and that is it's perfect because we need to learn that, brevity and time is of the essence. Those are very, very important things. So yeah, it's something we need to learn. And I didn't know that. I could speak and speak and speak and speak if you let me.
So it's I always love hearing what people are getting from Toastmasters, because I went to Toastmasters to learn to speak because I just didn't have any confidence. But it's teaching you, showing about the timing. So there's so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But
Exactly.
you also mentioned music. So
Yeah.
do you sing or do you play an instrument? What do you do with the music, and what type of music do you play?
Okay. I started singing when I was a little girl. Little, I'm talking 5 years old. I was already singing my way everywhere. And then I decided to go into piano, and I graduated at McGill University as jazz pianist. And right now, my band is a Latin music band. So we play salsa, we play merengue, we play cumbia, we play Latin rhythms, and people dance. And that's so much fun. And every time I play, it's fun. I said this recently. I said, every time I finish playing, I'm exhausted, but it's a good exhausted. You know, the the feeling of happiness outweighs how exhausted you are. And that has been my goal in life, to say, wow, I love doing this, and on top of that I'm being paid. So yeah, I've been doing music all my life. My my favorite thing to do in music is to compose and arrange, and so I'm trying to go back to it. I don't know if you know what arrangement is, but it's like when you have a song and you just tell everybody what to do in the song. So you write it and you say, okay, we're going to stop here, then we continue, then we sing here, and you can write all that. That's one of my favorite things to do. That, in fact, when I was at university, the coolest thing I ever did was big band arrangements. And that you write every note for every piece of the band. And when that band is playing, it's like, oh my goodness, those are my notes. That's what I wrote. And it's so powerful. I don't know if you've ever heard a big band playing, but if you haven't and you have the opportunity, go, because it's out of this world. It's so powerful. Like when those horns are playing together, it's like, wow. You get goosebumps. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I think it happens to everybody.
I think it's universal if you really like my brain cannot comprehend, because for me the complexity of composing something like this, like you don't only have one line of piano, you have the layers and how they
Mhm.
play into each other and how they complement each other, where there is a silence and when there is a peaks and valleys. It's impressive when you can visualize and obviously
Yeah.
create those layers and then build them upon each other, and when you then
Mhm.
hear them in real life with like big orchestra playing from the strings to all the just sometimes when the horns come in and everything,
Yeah.
it is magnificent. So yeah, highly recommend if anyone hasn't been to like a concert like this. And I love especially when then those happen outdoors. Literally, as
Mhm.
you were speaking, I visualized couple of years back, we randomly stumbled across a outdoor concert on the beach in Italy.
Oh,
And so we were
wow.
standing on the cliffs, there was the sea crushing, and there was I think it was like a school competition of bands, of kind of like a showcase. And there was, I
That had
think,
to be
30,
fantastic.
30 people playing, it was night, sky, and the stars were there. So obviously the sounds of these things is just so magnificent. But as you were speaking also, for me, I would love to understand a little better if you can kind of share your insights on the connection between music and language, like why music is such a powerful tool for learning new languages. Like, what is it? Is it simply the songs that we keep repeating them, or is there something in our brain that somehow musically we get to learn foreign languages faster?
So it's funny you say that because I was recently reading about an article in neuroscience about how music affects the brain. And it's completely different to anything else we do. Whenever you play music or hear music or sing, your brain fires in different places. Is not only what we normally use for speaking. Uh, so yes, music, it's going to make your brain happy. And because of that, I find that it is another language too. I find, even though some people say, well, music is universally understandable, yes and no. But if you think about it, you play music for a parakeet, and the parakeet's going to start, moving back and forth, and it's going to start enjoying it. Same thing with any animals. Or if you're playing, you might try to speak with somebody from the other end of the world, and they're not going to understand you. But maybe you start playing the piano, they're going to sit and listen. And they might not understand exactly what you're trying to say, but they might feel that you're doing, you're trying to be friendly. So the opposite happens if you try to play something, I don't know, on the deep end. Is if you play dramatic music. When my baby was born, I used to put him in the carriage right beside my piano, and I would, if I played something too melancholic, he started like, oh, I start crying immediately. It would be like, okay, 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 I'm playing something happy. But I was always so amazed at the power of music as a communication tool. And in fact, have you ever tried to watch, have you ever watched a movie without any soundtrack? It feels kind of, first of all, it slows down. And if it's like, okay, there's something missing. And funny enough, when you compose a soundtrack, that's a lot of work. Yet, you're not supposed to listen to the soundtrack. The soundtrack is supposed to take you into the movie and bring you to the action. If you're listening to the sound and you're like da 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 da, you're not really paying attention to the movie. So, as a language, music is very important. First of all, because it changes the way we perceive things, and then it helps you communicate.
Spanish is also a very musical type of language. I mean, when you just listen, I don't speak Spanish, but I love listening to Spanish. Spanish and Italian are two languages. I might not understand a word that's being said, but I love just listening to the language. And it's almost, you can see where music would fit nicely into it. And there's also a lot of operas were written in Italian because, I don't know, I just think because it's such a musical language. But you would have different music for like Chinese or for Russian or Spanish or English. You would have different music for it. But also, if you go back in history, I mean, there's always been music. If you think of the native Indians or the Africans in Africa, you had the drumming to get the warriors hyped up to go and on the hunt or whatever it is, or you have the drumming in with shamanics to
the Maori. Have you ever seen the Maori in their they do this, how do you call it, it's like a
It's
cry.
haka, like in New Zealand, the haka
Yeah,
when
in New
they do.
Zealand, and it's so powerful, and it's essentially rhythm, it's music too. and they do it rhythmically, and they follow a certain, and it's so powerful. You see it, you get scared. But
Well,
it's so
they do that in rugby matches, and
exactly, that's
it's
the one I'm talking.
we're coming for you. We're gonna. I mean, why do you think the Kiwis are like the best rugby players? Because
Yeah.
I think they just scare everybody else away. But it is we've had music for centuries,
Mhm.
and even singing like lullabies for children and nursery rhymes, and then you have your drumming to go on the hunt, or you have your in and anything in between. So music has always been something that it is there, and it's like you were saying also with having that background music in the soundtrack in movies. You
Mhm.
can also you hummed a song, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's familiar. But you might explain what a movie is, and it's like, I've never seen that. You hum the soundtrack. I'm like,
Exactly.
oh
Yeah.
yes, I know that movie.
Exactly.
So it's
Exactly.
music is almost a way that we can connect emotionally, as
Mhm.
and not so much with the brain, but more with our emotions, because
Mhm.
I think you feel the music. I mean, you spoke about big bands, and I love big bands, and you get those drums and the horns in, and it's like, okay, something's happening here. It's getting really exciting. It's coming on, and then it quietens down, and you can have sounds of horses or all sorts in there. And it's such an emotional
Mhm.
feeling that you go on. And if it's a really good big band, even a roller coaster, up and down, and they take you through all the emotions. But words can't do that for you. You can describe something and you can visualize it while somebody's talking, but if you have that music, you can feel it.
Well, but like that's, for example, the essence of poetry. There's music in poetry too. When you write, that's one other thing I'm doing. I'm writing. When you write poetry, when you have metric, you are essentially creating a rhythm, and this rhythm, when you say the words, this rhythm goes to your brain and you start feeling the music, and that's why poetry is so attractive and so beautiful. If you listen to Shakespeare sonnets, they're completely musical. You could just add music to it. um, I have I'm not very good at rhyming doing poetry, but I like playing with the rhythm when I'm doing poetry. And it's very interesting how you can, without rhyming, you can create movement in the language. And also, when we speak, we don't just stay in one note and talk all the time like this, like robots do. We're creating a music. Each language has its own music. Like for example, if you speak Italian, Italians tend to do this. you know, if you, for example, go to Argentina, the Argentinians, they're going to talk with this song all the time. Or the Mexicans, whenever they talk, everything goes up. And they're going to say, did you like that? Say, for example, oh, because I went to the supermarket. And then when I went to the supermarket, I bought some meat. and, and that's part of, for example, accents. So there's music everywhere. And the thing that we need, what that we understand, not that we need to, we do understand that, is that music is intrinsic to the human being. I have never ever met a person who doesn't like music. Never. They might not like salsa, they might like classical music, they might like jazz, they might like, I don't know, you know, Indian music or Chinese music. But people always like some kind of music. People are always going to hum things. It's something that our brain needs to do, something that our brain feels comfortable doing, music. So it's, if you think about it, language also is music. it stems from that. I think language came out of music. Maybe I'm like here, getting creative about it. Maybe I'm not saying the right things, but language, music, and human beings are intrinsically related.
I think there is, learning foreign languages for me, there's so much more to it than just learning a language. And I was talking with someone the other day, and I said that if there would be one superpower I could have, it would be to instantly understand every language in the world. Because there is something about you passing by a couple of strangers and they're talking in a language, and my brain is immediately, what language is that? What are you talking about? What is happening? Like kind of the eavesdropping. I think would be fantastic. Like, the more languages I learn, and even though I can fluently speak two languages, I am learning Spanish. Nowhere near I'm speaking Spanish. I know Spanish, but the more I'm learning Spanish, and if I'm traveling around Spain, learning languages and similar to music, it opens up the culture. It opens up our experiences. Obviously, how we interact with people, even if we know very little of a language, we can relate and connect with the locals so much better. But as you were talking about, the language and music connection, I'm also seeing it teaches you history, it teaches you culture, it teaches understanding, some of the traditions of a language, some of the traditions of a culture. So I'm curious again, is there anything more that you've seen and that, languages and music can enhance our lives beyond, music is nice. It gives us good feelings. Learning languages is good because, it helps our brain. But is there, like, do you have experiences that these two things can really enrich our lives above and beyond the things that we, immediately think about them?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I know a lot of people that work with music. They cannot work unless they have music on. I'm the opposite because I'm a musician. So if I have music playing, I have to pay attention to it. But in fact, there's people who composes music and put them on YouTube for people to work with, to have it on the background. And music can enhance your life depending on what you're doing if you know how to use it. Um, when you're doing meditation, there's music specially composed for meditation that can enhance that process. Those are the examples that come top of my mind. Uh, the same example as the movies. If there was no music in the movies, it'd be it would be very long to watch all those movies, and the action movies wouldn't be as fun.
You mentioned meditation to me. It was like immediately like exercise and workouts. I remember
Oh,
back in the day where I was running, I always had a handful of songs. They were like, if I need to do a sprint, and I hated doing like sprints, there are only a couple of songs that have such a good energy that I know I will push myself and be able to do the sprint. So then you compose almost like a playlist
yeah.
to guide you on the workout to allow you to really hit those peak performances and cool you off. So it's incredible how many ways music can make us more productive, more focused, more relaxed. Like
Mhm.
any state you want your body and mind to get to, music can be a tool and is a tool to get us. You will be happy, music is there. You want to be
Yeah.
more sad and allowed to process emotions, music is there. You want high energy, there is music for it. Do you want to calm down your energy? There is music for it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, it One of the things that I have done, for example, is I sometimes have to count repetitions on if I'm exercising, and I look for a certain BPM. So, for example, if you want to do every minute, if you just put a music that's at 60 BPM or 120 BPM, so you're measuring the time that you're doing, when you're doing 1 minute hard, 1 minute slow, you can find music on YouTube for that. And it's so much easier. Like same thing as you. If I'm walking on the street and I want to walk fast, if I'm trying to do it on my own, it's kind of like, mm. But as soon as I put music on, it's like I just go at the rhythm of the music and I don't stop. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, I did it. because of that, because we tend to follow rhythms, because I think it even has to do with our heart, you know, like when we're babies and we're inside our mom's wounds, you hear the boom, 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 you know, that's that is constant. So I think we came to this world listening to that, and that's what we're looking for, you know, that comfort that the rhythm will give you.
Talking about music, and music is, as you said, it's very powerful. But I'd love, you shared some of your stories, but you've also said that you've pretty much been singing since you were a child and playing music and composing and arranging. But what is it that draws you to the music? Why music? Why not, I don't know, something else? I can't think of anything else. But what draws you to the music, and what does music give you? I mean, we've generally talked about what music can do, but I'm asking, what does music give you, and why music? Why not something else?
I've always been very creative. I'm not a an analytic person or a numbers person. I absolutely hate accounting, and uh, and yet, out of all the creative arts, the one that resonates with me the most is music. I I I do drawing. I write, like I was saying. I've been I always wrote, but recently, like from a year ago, I started writing on Substack. I have a newsletter, and it has been giving me a lot of fulfillment. However, the way music fills me up, nothing does. That's why. How could I explain what's the reason for that? I think it has to do with my genes, with my personality or something. But again, and funny enough, I came back to music because I was away from music for a long time. When I married my husband, we decided to move away from the city, and we were living in this beautiful place and here in Nova Scotia called Cape Breton. We had a home in the forest looking at the mighty Atlantic. And while I was there, I wasn't really doing much music. And then I had my son, and, things. I stayed away from music. Yet, my piano was always there. And I always kept, you know, I kept listening. I kept looking for things. And as soon as I came here and I was asked, do you want to play? Yes. Like I didn't even let them finish. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's me. I'm doing it. And it hasn't stopped. And I understood that I cannot live without it. I have to do it. It's my essence. So is there a rational reason? I don't know. I don't think so.
We're not always looking for rational reasons. Sometimes it
Exactly.
just to be. But you mentioned creativity, and I mean, creativity can be anything. It doesn't just have to be music or painting.
Mm-hmm.
And would love for you to maybe share a little bit about the power of creativity. And I know yours is more music, but
Mm-hmm.
for our listeners, they might not feel drawn to something, but not necessarily pursue it because life gets in the way, or whatever, the kids need feeding, or the school run needs doing, or the emails need to be sent, or whatever it is. But what is the benefits of having that creativity in your life? And like I said, this could be any form of creativity, because writing or painting or drawing or sewing or whatever it is, like clay work or pottery, or there's so many different ways one can be creative. But I'd love for you to maybe share some of the benefits to being creative as a human. Why would somebody want to pursue that creativity that they might be thinking about? It might be a hobby that they've put down. why pick it up again? And we just want to try and get our listeners' creative juices flowing and get them back to those hobbies that they've most probably put aside for whatever reasons. So if you could just share some and get those little juices flowing.
It's funny because I have been I've been trying to put together my music with my public speaking, now that you're saying that. And I have been looking at what other people are doing about it. Creativity is an internal part of what we are. When we're born, we start immediately creating. Even, you're 6 months old and you're starting to eat food, and you start creating with your food. And somehow when we go to school and when we're educated to be adults, we lose a little bit of it. And yet creativity is something necessary for life in general. Why? Because if you stay stuck in a box, your life becomes boring and unbearable. Or maybe you don't even notice that it's boring, but it becomes a hurdle that you have to try and overcome. And this is what happened to many people. I've been reading a lot about the Ikigai lately, and it has to do with that. It has to do with finding how you're going to do what you are, not so much what you like, but what you are, and put it and create your life, your own life with it. Okay? Creativity is part of looking at life from different angles. So you can step out of the box, step out of your comfort zone. Like if you want to try and talk with terms that the average people can understand. When you're creative, you're taking what you're doing and you're enhancing it. You're putting part of yourself into it. So yes, when you have a hobby, first of all, you are able to express yourself better. It seems like, oh yeah, I'm just going to sit down and do some ceramics, let me do this little vase, whatever. It's just going to be another ornament. And no, it's not. You're expressing yourself. And by expressing yourself, you might discover things that you never knew existed. And that's a big part of the importance of being creative. When you're learning to write, one of the things that people recommend, that you get recommended, is to write morning pages. Morning pages, you just sit down and write whatever comes out. It doesn't matter. Many times after you do that, you start writing, and then you start liking what you're writing. If you take that process and you apply it to what you do every day, say for example, in music, I sit on the piano sometimes. Okay, I need to do this, but how am I going to do it? I just sit and play, and all of a sudden it starts coming out. Or if you're working in your garden, you start, you're like, and then you look at, oh, maybe I can take this guy and put him right here. Maybe I can cut these here. See, it's how you can express yourself. And you learn, it's not you learn it, but you put it into practice by doing it. It's you kind of start taking a little bit at a time until, whoa, you know how the magicians, they have this trick where they start taking handkerchiefs and handkerchiefs and handkerchiefs, and then all of a sudden, boom, a flower comes out. That's what creativity is about. And that's why it's so important, because many times you need to solve a problem and your work, and oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And there are things that you never thought of. And those things are the ones that are going to come when you are doing the creative process. They're going to come to you and you're going to say, oh, there it is. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go this way. I'm going to talk to this guy and I'm going to arrange this and this is going to work. And it does. That's my.
I love the example of the magician just, pulling little and little and little and little, and you keep going, you keep going. It really tells a story of, practice is important, showing up regularly, not necessarily expecting anything epic and major and focusing too much on the output straight away. It's more the showing up, it's the practice, it's the and I do like the idea of morning pages of, first thing in the morning, the first thing you do is just allow yourself to really settle in and do the creativity. It doesn't work for me because my cat demands a walk. So the first thing in the morning, the moment I am awake, my cat is like, let's go for a walk. I need to go out. Come on, come on. So
That's part of your morning pages.
Yeah.
Go with your cat and when you're out there, your mind is already doing the morning pages in your head, That's part of it.
And it's great that, it doesn't have to always look the same. And one of the learnings I've had along the way, it's, for example, with journaling or writing, yes, we can write in pen and paper and we can write on a computer, but sometimes, as you said, it's the thinking about the writing or kind of imagining the writing. We don't always have the ideal circumstances for these practices to, have the morning coffee and the lovely nook and the beautiful view and the peace and quiet to just sit and do it. Like sometimes we have to improvise and do it among other things and figure out a different way. So I love that you really brought in, it's like, yeah, like slow walking the cat, actually processing and allowing the mind be creative is already part of the process.
Exactly. That's part of that's I don't know if to say it, that's the importance of creativity, or that's how creativity can actually help you in your life to, to be yourself, to discover what you have inside. Because many times we have things inside that we don't know, that we haven't discovered, that we haven't found. And then all of a sudden they start coming out, and you're like, oh my goodness, what is this? Yeah. It's the process of the artist. Yeah, the artist process.
And that is such a beautiful way that you said it. It's the artist process. And I'm now going to ask you to dig in for something that you didn't know that you had. This is where we ask, Arnaly, can we please have your gold nugget?
Oh, my gold nugget. Well, maybe would you mind me reading one of my poems? This was a poem I wrote some time ago now, but it's about a poet, because when I started writing, I call myself the unpoet because I'm really bad at rhyming. And so I said, if I can't rhyme, I can't be a poet. But then people started telling me that no, you don't need to rhyme to be a poem. You just write and just express your feelings through words. And that's what poetry is about. And so when I started doing that, it kind of like imagine the actual poet sitting down doing it, and this came out. So yeah, this was my introduction. It said, in my quest to define and figure out what poetry is, I first decided to define what a poet looks like from my side of the screen. So I imagine I was looking at a poet on the other side, like I'm in the camera hiding. He doesn't know I'm there, and he's writing. This is dedicated to all those poets I've read and know personally, with all my respect. Flying in front of me, you appear with your half smile, half looking at me, and Who knows what the other half of you is looking at? Your hair rests punished by gravity, wanting to fly with your thoughts out of your head to those mystical places where you suffer in silence until you put your inner sightings into words. How many monsters hunt you every second of the day in the depth of your eyes? Those small eyes disguised in what great big eyes? You have wolf glasses bearing the need to give a personality that you are consciously unable to wear with the excuse that you can't read anymore. Through the screen, I reach out and try to touch you, but your soul is well hidden, very deep on the other side of your thoughts. The you afraid, you shy, you scared, stay safe and secure under the wings of your strong ideas and convictions. They carry you high up and away to your solitude where no one can hurt you.
Oh, thank you. That is so beautiful. That is amazing. Thank you so much. And poetry doesn't have to rhyme.
Exactly.
Something I've learned. But no, thank you so much for sharing that. And this is why we love our gold nuggets, because we get some amazing gold nuggets like your beautiful poem. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been such a beautiful conversation.
So for our listeners, if they're listening to this conversation and they want to find out more, maybe about the Spanish, maybe about the music, or connect with you with your newsletter, where can people find you?
My newsletter is on Substack, and you can find me at Arnaly, ARNALY .substack.com. If you want to find my Spanish language academy, it's lengualista.com. Lengualista is LA. Actually, we're going to leave a link or not. Because, yeah, lengua means tongue, lista means ready. So it's kind of like ready tongue or lingualist. You know, I was trying to have a word game. Lengualista.com is my academy, or academy.lengualista.com. They both go. My voiceover is arnaly.com. Again, ARNALY, arnaly.com. And my music, my band is called Los Bandalos. That's another word game. So it's Los Banda Los. So we're the band of vandals. And it's written with a B. So it's those are the places where you could find me. On LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, mostly on LinkedIn and Substack. Those are my two places. You can write me, you can DM. I'm always open to meet new people and hear new things and share and collaborate. That's a lot of fun always.
And I'll make sure that the links that you mentioned that it will be in the description below so people can easily click on it and find you wherever. Thank you so much for making the time and being here with us today. We here on the podcast always want a little bit more, and we always try and squeeze in one last question. And given that the mission of the podcast all about finding more life in one's life, we're all about exploring ways we can more lean into our lives, live more happily, healthily, fulfilled, and authentic lives. And I know that music is a huge part of your life, but I'm still curious. Maybe there is a different angle that you can come at it with. I'm curious, what gives you life right now?
One of the things that gives me life right now is at one point of my life, I felt I was stuck. I was completely stuck, that I couldn't get out of a circle that I was in. And at one point, I said, no, I have to get out of here. And I was able to do it. So if there's something that I want to tell everybody, which is, and I know there's a lot of people in the same situation that I was, is you're never completely stuck. There's always a way out. And life has a lot for anyone as long as you put a little bit of work. You just have to work for it. Go and get it. And I think that's my biggest lesson in the past few years. You just go, like what Charles Bukowski says, don't try. And that don't try is not because you should not go try. No, just go at it. Don't try to do it. Just go at it. Just do it, like Mikey says. So that would be my, if I wanted to, that's what moves me. That's what wakes me up every morning. That's what, and of course, my family, my son, my music, my everything. But the fact that I was able to get out of that rut that I was, where I wasn't neutral. I can't even say I was sad. I was gray. I was stuck. I was like, why do I need to live anymore? And then one day I said, I'm getting out of this. And I did. And now it's different. And now it's every morning that I wake up, I'm excited about the day.
It is so beautiful, and it's like, as you said, don't try, just
Go.
Just do it. So thank you. So great bit of advice that gets you up in the morning. So thank you so much, and thank you for being with us today and sharing your enthusiasm and your joy, especially when talking about music. And anyone who's going to be watching the video, you can see the joy coming off your face as you're talking about it. You can see that you are passionate about it. And that's what I love about talking to other humans, is you get to see the passion and the love for what they're doing, and that shines through the lens and the screen and everything else. So thank you so much for just bringing that energy into this conversation today. We really appreciate you being here, and it's been a beautiful conversation. So thank you.
I totally and absolutely enjoyed. Thank you for inviting me. It has been a great joy to meet you, Natalia and Natalie, and talk to two of you. That's fantastic. There's nothing more fun than having a spontaneous conversation. It's like, well, what are they going to ask me? I don't know, but we'll go. We'll see. It's going to be fun.
That's the power of a conversation. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And for our listeners, what have you got from this conversation today? This has been a very different conversation to what we normally have. We've talked creativity. Are you creative? Are you bringing some form of creativity into your life? Are you a musician? Do you play music? We would love to hear what aha moments you've got from this conversation. What's really triggered your ideas or your creativity? Or what do you do to bring that creativity into your life? We would love to hear. Plus, if you've done Toastmasters, let us know. We love hearing stories. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.